Hello, and welcome to Advanced Mathematics 1, Unit 3, Part 4, Parallel and Perpendicular Lines. By the end of today's lesson, you'll be able to do the following. Identify and write equations of parallel lines. Identify and write equations of perpendicular lines. Our main concepts are as follows. Two lines are parallel if and only if they have the same slope. So parallel lines have to have equal slopes. Two lines are perpendicular if and only if their slopes are opposite reciprocals. So if one is 2/3, the other one would be -3/2. So it turns upside down and changes signs. That's what it means by opposite reciprocal. So if it's like 3, it'd be 3/1. The other one would be -1/3. And that would be the opposite reciprocal. All vertical lines are parallel to other vertical lines and perpendicular to horizontal lines. And obviously all horizontal lines are parallel to other horizontal lines. You get the idea. Anyway. All right, in our first example, we're asked to determine which of these lines are parallel. They all look parallel, but that doesn't mean that they are. I have to find their slopes to determine if they're parallel. So I'm going to start with line A, and I'm going to determine its slope. So it's change in y, which is 2 minus 3. Oops. My mouse went crazy there, sorry. I don't know what happened there. 2 minus 3 over 1 minus -4. So 2 minus 3 is -1. 1 minus -4 is 5. That gives me the slope of line A. For line B, I have -1 minus 0 all over. The change in x is 1 minus -3. So up top, again, I have -1. But on bottom I have a 4, so those aren't parallel right there. Those are not the same. C, I have the change in y is -5 minus -4 all over 2 minus -3. So -5 minus -4 is -1 again. 2 minus -3 is 5. So my ones with equal slopes are A and C. So those are my parallel lines. And that's all there is for number 1. For number 2, I'm asked to find an equation of a line that goes through the point -4, 2 and is parallel to y equals 1/4 x plus 1. So my line that I'm looking for is going to have a slope of 1/4. So it's going to look like y equals m 1/4 x plus b. So this is very similar to what we did before. We're going to be plugging in the x and y point. We just have to figure out the slope given this line. So it's equal to 1/4 because it's parallel to 1/4. So I'm going to plug in my 2 for my y and my -4 for my x. So let's solve that out. So we have 2 equals -1/4 of 4. 1/4 of -4, either way, is -1. Add 1 to both sides. And I get 3 as b. So my last step is to write the equation of the line. So I know the slope is 1/4, so I get y equals 1/4 x plus b, which is 3. This is the other reason I had you learn how to do it this way, because this works way better than point slope form for parallel and perpendicular lines. You can't really use point slope form because, well, you can, but it's just easier. So there you go. Okay, example 3 is a lot like example 1, except we're finding which ones are perpendicular. We're looking for slopes that are opposite reciprocals. So again, we're going to find all the slopes. So we'll start with A. So change in y. So we have -1 minus -4. Looking at the blue points up there. And then -3 minus -5. So -1 minus -4 is 4 minus 1, which is 3. -3 minus -5 is 5 minus 3, which is 2. All right, line B. Again, we'll find its slope. So we have -6 minus -4 as my y values, and -2 minus -6 as my x values. So -6 plus 4 is -2. -2 plus 6 is 6. Minus 2 is 4. So this is -1/2. And then last but not least, line C, we have change in y is -1 minus -6. I'm having a hard time looking up there and seeing what the points are. Over change in x is 0 minus -3. So that's a 5, and that's a 3. None of those are opposite reciprocals. So that means none of them are parallel or perpendicular. So this would have to be -2/3 if it was perpendicular with A. Or if it was perpendicular with C, it would be -3/5. It's neither of those, so none of those are perpendicular. They look like they might be, but they're not quite there. So there we go. Example 4, we're doing the same thing we did as in example 2, except we're finding a perpendicular. So the slope here of the line that we have is -3. So the perpendicular slope is, if I write that as a fraction, I turn it upside down and I make the sign the opposite. So this was negative, so this is positive, and I flip it upside down, it becomes 1/3. So my slope is 1/3. So this is what I'm using for my slope to find my line. And now I'm going to plug x and y in there. So y is 5, and x is -3. So I multiply that out. 5 equals 1/3 of -3 is -1. Add the 1 to both sides. I get 6 is B. Those look very much similar, but you get the idea. So my equation is y equals 1/3 x plus 6. And there we go. That's our perpendicular line. And that's all there is for today. I will see you next time. Goodbye.